Live from the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
The biggest thing I remember is just that she went out of her way for people. She wanted to make sure people were really nice.
After a desperate search that stretched for more than a month, it appears an Iowa college student who used to live in the Bay Area has been found dead. Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Griego.
And I'm Kenny Choi. That story in a minute. But first, this just in. Sources telling CBS News that President Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, has decided to take a plea deal with the Justice Department. Federal prosecutors have been investigating him for possible fraud, as well as whether he violated campaign finance and other laws by helping to arrange hush payments to women who claim that they had affairs with Mr. Trump. The FBI raided his home, his office, and his hotel room back in April and seized more than 4 million items. Cohen is expected to plead guilty in Manhattan this afternoon.
Now back to our other top story, the possible discovery of the body of Mollie TIbbetts. The 20-year-old spent part of her life living in the East Bay.
Jackie Ward joins us with more on the investigation and reaction from her elementary school. Jackie.
Kenny and Michelle, for nearly 5 weeks, Mollie's family and friends held on to hope that she would be found safe. Now her body is believed to have been discovered while her killer is still out there. A law enforcement source in Iowa says investigators received information early this morning, which led them to a field in rural Poweshiek County and the body of a young woman.
They're going to comb over that body in great detail for signs that indicated signs indicative of a struggle, for DNA of a potential offender.
Her family, holding press conferences on a regular basis, did everything they could to get the information out there that may have brought their daughter home safely.
This is a fight for our daughter, and so we have all the tools that we can use.
The 20-year-old was last seen jogging July 18th near the area where investigators found the body. The University of Iowa student was staying at her boyfriend's house at the time to watch his dogs while he was out of town.
We're not in a position to say who is a suspect, who isn't a suspect, or that there are suspects.
A team of 40 investigators interviewed dozens of residents and searched nearby farms and fields for weeks.
At this point now, the hard science kicks in. People want to be very reserved until we get that report from the medical examiner, which is going to be very telling, and that's going to be the hard science.
Mollie spent part of her childhood growing up in Oakland and attended Corpus Christi Catholic School in Piedmont before moving to Iowa in 3rd grade. The Corpus Christi principal spoke about Mollie to the entire student body as part of her first day of school remarks.
She was happy, she was kind to everyone, she made everybody feel good, and I don't think she changed very much from what I listened to people talk about. I think she was the same very sweet, thoughtful person, and that's how we're going to remember her here.
The reward for information leading to Mollie's discovery rose to nearly $400,000. It will now be used for information that helps police catch the person responsible for her death. Investigators plan on holding a press conference in Iowa later this afternoon. Michelle?
It is now expected to be the biggest trial in California history. District attorneys from 6 California counties holding a news conference in the past hour to announce they will combine their cases against Golden State Killer suspect Joseph DeAngelo. A complaint filed this morning in Sacramento Superior Court charges DeAngelo with 13 counts of murder with special circumstances, along with 13 counts of kidnapping for robbery.
The decision to charge crimes and allegations occurring in 6 separate jurisdictions in Sacramento Superior Court reflects our collective judgment that a single prosecution in a single jurisdiction serves the best interest of the case, its victims, and the cause of justice.
Among the charges in the combined complaint, 4 cases of kidnapping from Contra Costa County. DeAngelo will be arraigned on the new charges Thursday in Sacramento. And DeAngelo is suspected of killing at least a dozen people during the 70s and 80s. DNA evidence eventually led to his arrest in April.
Also new at noon, a massive fire continues to burn across the state. Sonoma County has received a grant to help clear fire fuel and prevent future blazes. The $1 million CAL FIRE grant will fund efforts to clear dead trees and vegetation along roadways. The 3-year project will clear fire fuel in the northwest area of the county. Sonoma County is still recovering from deadly wildfires that ripped through Northern California last fall.
Meantime, the largest wildfire in state history has now burned more than 404,000 acres. That's about 13 times the size of San Francisco. The Mendocino complex is made up of the river and ranch fires in Lake, Mendocino, Colusa, and Glenn counties. The fire is now 74% contained.
In just an hour, San Francisco city leaders are expected to vote on a project meant to speed up Muni service along a busy corridor. Today's vote could allow private buses into special lanes on Geary between Market and Stanyan Streets. KPIX5's Ann Makovic breaks down the concerns.
Well, several lanes on busy corridors in San Francisco were painted red with the goal of expediting Muni service. And now there are questions about who else may be able to drive on those lanes. The Geary bus line is the most trafficked in the U.S. west of the Mississippi, and there are plenty of complaints about its convenience.
Crowded and busy, really busy.
There's a $35 million project in the works to speed up Muni service on Geary, and part of it would clarify the rules already in place, allowing private buses to use the transit-only lanes, including commuter shuttles like Chariot.
And that would also clear vehicles off of the normal traffic lanes as well.
Public opinion is mixed.
I think it should just be for the buses and for taxis, really, because it's always so congested out here all the time.
But not allowing private buses, according to SFMTA spokesperson Paul Rose, would mean asking for a deference in state law, which defines buses as 10 or more seats, public or not.
These vehicles won't be able to stop in Muni zones. They would only be able to drive through it.
And then there's the all too common reality.
I mean, it's not like anybody really stays on the right part of the road.
We're definitely trying to manage Muni in a way that's more efficient, faster, and more reliable, but at the same time, what works for everyone.
There will be a public hearing on this issue at 1 this afternoon at San Francisco City Hall. In San Francisco, Ann Makovic, KPIX5.
The Trump administration wants to roll back an Obama-era environmental initiative by allowing states to set their own regulations for coal-fired power plants. The Environmental Protection Agency is proposing the new rule to replace the Clean Power Plan, claiming it would reduce CO2 emissions from the current level by the year 2030. But critics say that the result could be deadly. Governor Brown had this to say, saying this is a declaration of war against America and all of humanity. It will not stand. Truth and common sense will triumph over Trump's insanity, end quote. And now some Bay Area city officials are calling on Governor Brown to phase out oil and gas drilling immediately.
It's not only that each thing is harmful, but that this never-ending growing of more burning, of more fossil fuels, of more drilling, of more fracking adds up to cancer, adds up to asthma, adds up to real suffering of real people.
Oakland Councilmember Rebecca Kaplan and Berkeley Mayor Jesse Arreguín urged Governor Brown to take the first step by halting permits for new fossil fuel projects and prohibit drilling within 2,500 feet of homes.
President Trump says that the interview with special counsel Robert Mueller could be a perjury trap. Mr. Trump called the Russia investigation a national disgrace and stepped up his attacks on the special counsel in recent days. Some of the president's Republican critics are warning him to tread carefully.
This is unseemly, frankly, to go after, career officers over at Justice and to go after Bob Mueller the way he's going after him.
The president said he could run the Russia inquiry into his own conduct, but has decided to stay out of it.
Meanwhile, ahead of the midterm elections, Russian hackers may have a new target. Microsoft says that it is going after conservative think tanks, specifically ones that have an adversarial relationship with President Trump. The hackers reportedly created websites that mimicked both the Hudson Institute and the International Republican Institute. Microsoft also says that users were secretly redirected to web pages where their passwords and other information were also stolen. A Google location tracking lawsuit aims to include virtually anyone with a cell phone. Napoleon Patiksil from San Diego filed a suit seeking class action status. He took legal action the same day Google admitted it stores users' location history even if they disable the setting. Patiksil claims that is an invasion of privacy. If a judge grants class action status, then those who own an iPhone or Android and have turned off location tracking will be eligible to join the lawsuit. Winemakers in Livermore turning to some divine intervention ahead of the start of grape harvesting today. Before any picking begins, a centuries-old ceremony will take place, the blessing of the grapes. Local clergy will honor the grapes, the vineyards, and the people who make the annual harvest a reality. Winemakers say that the harvest is likely to begin with some Chardonnay grapes.
Parenting and work can sometimes feel at odds.
Still ahead, one company aims to make the balancing act a little bit easier for new mothers.
And why reading the fine print when buying travel insurance is more important than ever.
Well, it isn't a particularly clear start to our day, but things are clearing up. I'll tell you where that's happening and what you can expect on the backside of these clouds.